Good evening. Welcome to Mac and Talk 68. I am Chanelle Allen, your facilitator, and I am so glad you have joined me now or later on via the podcast recording. Mac and Talk is a Q&A open conference call for anyone with Mac questions. Whether you've been using the Mac for a little while and need help and encouragement getting started with VoiceOver, or maybe you're a longtime user and have a question about an app or feature. Or you could be coming to us for the first time wondering, is the Mac the right thing for me? What should I think about when getting a Mac? For whatever reason you're here, I am glad. And before we get into introductions and then your questions, I'll just take a minute to tell you about iBug Today. Actually, I'll direct you to our website, which is ibugtoday.org, where you can learn all about us. You can sign up to become a member. Being a member is free. Attending any and all of our workshops is free. And by registering on the site, you get signed up for our email list. On the site, you'll also find links to all of our social media sources, YouTube. We have our all of our calls made as podcasts or videos there on YouTube that you can listen to later, and they are divided into playlists. On our site, you'll also find info for Mac and Talk and the other programs that we conduct. And as far as our announcements this week, on Friday, we have iBug Night at the Virtual Movies beginning at 7:15 p.m. social, followed by, was social, oh dear, I'm, whatever, 7:15 p.m. Central to socialize. There you go. Talk about movie trivia and music and just hang out. Then the movie is at 8, and this week's feature is The Life List, which is PG. And then we have a discussion after the movie. On Saturday, April 26th from 2 to 4 p.m., by the way, all these are central, and all of these take place at the same Zoom link you used to get in tonight. So on Saturday from 2 to 4 p.m. Central, we have Apple Workshop, where we get to hear a lot of cool Apple news and rumors. If you haven't already read that stuff already, usually I haven't. And then we get some app demos provided by our members. So it's great to see what iPhone apps interest those in our organization. And then every Monday from 7 to 9 p.m. Central, we have iBug Buzz. And that's a great place to ask a lot of the same questions that you can ask here. You know, a part of being a good Mac user is being also efficient with your iPhone or knowing how the two relate to one another. Well, we don't exactly talk about that, but if you have any sort of question with accessibility on your iPhone or whatever, we would be happy to help answer. And stay tuned for postings of all of our other events. We still have things coming up later this month. So now, though, I would like to start introductions. Say who you are, where you are calling from, and if this is your first time joining us for Mac and Talk, let us know that as well. I'm Chanelle, and I live in Houston.
Herbie in Houston.
Soraya from Florida. I'm new.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name.
Soraya.
Soraya, welcome.
Thank you.
Claudette in Kingston, New York, and I'm new.
Welcome, Claudette.
Carolyn, DC, not new.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
This is Carolyn, DC.
Oh, Carolyn.
Yes.
Okay, welcome. All right.
Pete Lane in Florida. Also.
Welcome, Pete.
Thank you, Chanelle.
Gigi in Houston.
Welcome, Gigi.
Hi, Chanelle.
Joe Foster, Ottawa.
Welcome, Joe.
Robert in Chandler, Arizona.
Welcome, Robert.
Brad, I'm in Dallas.
Hi, Brad.
Julie, I'm in Carrollton. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, Kelly and Judy, welcome.
Yes.
Keisha from Chicago.
Welcome, Keisha.
Tommy, Portland, Texas.
Welcome, Tommy.
Robert Carter, College Station, Texas.
Welcome, Robert.
I am Christopher. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Do you want me to wait or?
No,
okay.
Go ahead.
I'm Christopher from Houston, Texas.
This is Valerie in Atlanta. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I did. Okay, so welcome, Christopher, and welcome. I didn't quite catch your name.
Dan, Southern
Valerie,
California.
maybe. Hi, Dan. Welcome.
This is Karen from Columbia, Maryland.
Welcome, Karen.
Hi, Chanelle. It's Elena from Connecticut.
Elena, welcome.
Mary Alice from Pennsylvania.
Welcome, Mary Alice.
Melissa from Nashville, Tennessee.
Welcome, Melissa.
Hi, it's Sarah in San Diego.
Welcome,
California.
Sarah.
Hi, Chanelle. It's Julie in Rochester, New York.
Oh, hi, Julie. All right. Welcome.
This is Melissa from Denver, Colorado.
Welcome, Melissa. All
I'm
right.
George from Hempstead, Texas.
Welcome, George. I think you said George.
Yes.
Okay, welcome.
This is Carlos. I'm from Long Island, New York.
Welcome, Carlos.
I'm Eli from Malaysia.
Welcome, Eli. All right. Well, thanks, everyone. We've got a nice group here today. Now we can get started with who would like to ask the first math question. And if you don't mind, some of us, let's try to maybe reserve for people who haven't called, if you're comfortable asking. Otherwise, anybody. But yeah, if the floor is open. So.
You mean first time call?
First time caller, yeah.
Long time listeners.
Well,
I had a. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
okay. Well, this is Claudette, and
Go ahead, Claudette.
I've been a Windows user for a very long time, and I've had 2 or 3 Dell laptops. But recently, I've been thinking of maybe I should try a Mac, and I'm a little hesitant. So I really need to know how difficult or how easy it's going to be. Most of the people I know who've used Macs have been in the publishing or promotional world, and it worked well for them. But if you weren't doing that, you usually were on some kind of IBM or Windows base. So perhaps you can tell me what the advantages are of using a Mac.
All right.
This is Herbie.
Go ahead, Herbie.
Well, the Mac is actually super easy to learn. In fact, if you don't believe me, we've got a class full of students right now that are learning the Mac, and they'll be more than happy to tell you how easy it is and how well they're doing. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe that's... No. In all seriousness, it's really one of those things that it's a user experience. There are similarities between Windows and Mac in terms of some of the operations and key commands. There are vast differences. I'll get into some of the differences in a little bit, but if you are willing to, like in my experience, it was not just a matter of, using the Mac on a daily basis really helped me learn it even more so than just learning the commands or whatever. But I found it to be not only a pretty easy transition for the most part. I found it to be a very welcome one, and I've used Mac really, since 2020. I used to be a long-time Windows user before then. The difference is you do get a little bit more of an iPhone type experience, but on the computer, so get used to the same sounds that your iPhone makes for like mail and messages and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
You get, in my opinion, a bit more of a more stable operating system. You do get some apps that you don't get on Windows, like Messages, FaceTime, the built-in calendar, things like that.
I have an iPad and I have an iPhone. Is it going to be basically just kind of one up from them? And also, I have Zoom text on my laptop now. Is that also available on Mac?
Oh, Brad, it's definitely a great question for Brad to answer. So go ahead, Brad.
Or anyone else? Did I hear
Pete.
Brad?
Brad. Yeah, I did say something.
Oh, so Brad and then Pete.
Right when
I am
Claudette
so sorry.
said her name, but that's okay.
I'm not.
Well, I was going to say one of the big advantages of the Mac, and you already touched on this because you said you have iPad, is the integration in the Apple ecosystem. All your devices will communicate with each other. Your messages that you use on your iPhone, as you know, show up on your iPad, and they will also show up on your Mac. Anyway, there's some like Herbie said, there's some similarities with Windows desktop operating systems are, they have certain things that they have in common, and certain things that the Mac does not have in common. Excuse me, with Windows. You mentioned Zoom Text. No, Zoom Text is a Windows only application. Once upon a time, along in a galaxy far, no, they did have a Zoom Text for Mac, and it was around only briefly. It did not last. Actually, once AI Squared was acquired by Vispero, they did away with Zoom Text for Mac. It wasn't a very, very small market share product, and their Vispero's primary focus is Windows application. But you do have a built-in screen magnifier called Zoom, just like you have a Zoom on an iPhone or an iPad. It's a screen magnifier. It's not as full-featured as Zoom Text by any means. You can invert colors, and in accessibility, you have the ability to make your mouse pointer bigger if that helps you. But I find I've been using this stuff and teaching it for years, and I find, as people begin to lose their vision, I always try to encourage them to start, working smarter, not harder. Use your ears, and it doesn't happen overnight, but VoiceOver is a pretty good screen reader. It's certainly not on the same level as JAWS, but at the same time, I never have wanted for something that I didn't have in VoiceOver. I believe the advantages of the Mac operating system outweigh any shortcomings. But then I am a little biased.
Well, I appreciate what you're telling me, and I will take all of it under consideration. I think that the opportunity to integrate, my iPhone, my iPad, and the Mac are some of the simplicities that I'm looking for, if I could use that as the word that would describe this. And yes, as my vision does get worse, I am using my ears more, and I'm trying not to rely as much on what's on the screen, but using more VoiceOver and things of that nature. So you've given me some things to think about, and now I'll have to just continue listening and see what goes on. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. And Pete, I think you wanted to speak as well?
Yes, Claudette, a quick question. Have you ever used a Bluetooth keyboard with your iDevices, your pad or your iPhone?
No, I haven't. I do have a ZoomText keyboard, but I'm not afraid to get a different keyboard if I would have to.
Yeah, because if you did, the keystroke commands are very similar between the Bluetooth on the iDevice and the Mac. There's also a trackpad on the Mac which would allow you to simulate a lot of the iPhone and iPad gestures, the VoiceOver gestures, but it sounds like you're not fully embraced VoiceOver yet on your iPhone and iPad yet, have you?
No,
Brad.
VoiceOver I would say almost exclusively on my iPhone. And
okay, good.
I just actually have been relying more on my iPad of late, but because of the need to occasionally do documents, and I was listening earlier to the issues with Google Sheets, and I was laughing to myself because one of the reasons why I wanted to become more proficient with the Mac or get back on my laptop is actually because of Google Sheets. So, it's just trying to decide which is going to be best for me. And I really have been just leaning more towards the Mac, and I'm just doing my research and evaluation now.
Okay, good luck.
Brad.
Yeah, I think what Pete was trying to say is when using a Bluetooth keyboard on your iOS device, your iPhone or your iPad, a lot of the keyboard commands that you use for VoiceOver on those devices are very similar to what you do on the Mac. I wouldn't say it's the same experience, but it's a lot of what you learn by using VoiceOver with a keyboard on your iOS, iPadOS devices transfers to the Mac very nicely.
Okay.
Gets you a good head start.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
This is Karen.
Yes, go ahead, Karen.
I can tell you after using JAWS for many years, I got really tired of paying for all those updates. And with the Mac, you don't pay for the updates. They're automatic and free.
Yeah, I just got a renewal on Zoom Tech, so I was also thinking about that, but trying to just make the best decision. Thanks for the information.
This is Valerie.
Yes, Valerie.
Hi. Um, I have I started with when I was sighted. I was a Mac user, and obviously, went back to work and became a JAWS user at that time. It was like the mid '90s. Um, you know, the Mac wasn't really at many workplaces. So anyway, I became a JAWS user and got really proficient. In the last, after I retired and um, didn't want to pay for the JAWS upgrades anymore either. I didn't have an employer who was going to do that. I went and bought a Mac, and since I rely, and I've lost a lot of vision since then, so I rely solely on VoiceOver for my iOS and my phone and iPad, and I was unprepared for the change because I wasn't prepared to slow down, to learn the keystrokes with the Mac and not be as fast and efficient and proficient with JAWS. So I'm embarrassed to say that I have this Mac that I haven't touched hardly in 2 years because I hadn't found the training. I just found out about iBug and everything, and now I know I can do it. But I also I just found that I was unprepared because I used VoiceOver and I thought it was going to be more of an easy time of it. So I
I
think
hear what you're saying.
psychologically I'm ready to learn it. I mean, I still, but I think I think I needed like more of a structure, and I
All
wasn't
right.
just going to go in and do it myself.
Well,
Sorry, that's like a million questions and no
no, no,
answers, but I apologize
no,
for that. This is my
I
first
just
time
want
calling in
to,
because I plan
bef-
on. Mhm.
I just want to affirm what you're saying that it is a huge adjustment, definitely. And there are some concepts that transfer, but there are some things that, are different. I still do use JAWS, and I say I'm a fairly proficient JAWS user, but I teach this class on using VoiceOver for iBug. We have the iBug Intro Mac training course, and you'd be welcome to sign up for that in the next round. There are also other free resources out there. Um, I know Brad does a class through New York Public Library on using the Mac. There's also a wealth of information on AppleVis. So getting started is doable, most definitely. It's just, it will take some time, and
Mhm.
everyone learns at their own pace. But I think having that efficiency with the keyboard and using JAWS will definitely help. Um, and being familiar with iOS, and you just sounds like need some resources or need to explore some resources to get started.
I do, and thank you. I am interested in the intro course, and I'm just all ears. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Go to the iBug Today website, and you should find my contact info there. Would you like more information about resources at this point, or I'm just trying to kind of direct the conversation here? Do
Yeah, I mean,
you?
I'm on tonight because I want to pursue that, even as I stay productive. When I want to compute fast, but I want to make use of this wonderful machine that I have. So I do want to get trained.
Would anyone else like to talk about what has helped them to learn the Mac, or useful resources, or anything of that nature before we move on to the
This is
next
Brad.
question? Go ahead, Brad.
AppleVis is really good.
It is.
They have lots of documentation, lots of helpful articles, things like that. You have built-in resources on your Mac. The Mac OS Users Guide is on your Mac, and it's got all kinds of information about the Mac OS in general. But there's also a section in there on VoiceOver, and it's very extensive and explains a lot. The VoiceOver built-in help is also very nice. And I find, so it's got a lot of resources there. I find that when you're in the either system settings for the Mac OS or in the VoiceOver utility, which is your application that is your VoiceOver settings and everything, you will find in every little section down in the lower right corner, there's a little button that says help. And if you select it, either with your mouse by clicking on it, or if you're using keyboard, put your VoiceOver focus on it, and VO spacebar is the command to do the default action for an item. It will open up VoiceOver help to the page, or what shall we call it? Because it's like a little web-based help thing that pops up on the side of the screen, and it'll tell you information on every item on that screen, and you can go through it and read about every item and what that setting item does. So it's very, very useful. There's a built-in VoiceOver tutorial, and I'm not really. It's good to do, but man, it was obviously written by somebody who's not a VoiceOver user. They've updated it, and I don't really think it's any better than it may have been better before. Because you move through it, you only get to try something once, and then you've moved on. Maybe you'll feel the need to practice that, and it doesn't allow for that. I don't know. I'm not crazy about it. I've had my students do it, and
I'm not
sure
either.
I'm not sure I'm going to emphasize it so much anymore, because
I think that's one of the things that discouraged me initially was I just thought because I was proficient with the voiceover on
on the phone.
It's just a different kind of thing, and I was JAWS on the keyboard. Since then, I don't see the screen at all. I took time to get used to not seeing the screen with JAWS, and that's one of the reasons I haven't been on the Mac as well. But it's different, but Mac has its advantages.
This is Karen.
Okay, I'm not sure, Brad, were you finished?
Well, I was going to say that it is like learning a foreign language. The more you use it, the better you get. If you just dabble in it occasionally, you're really not going to ever get anywhere. You kind of have, and it's baby steps all the time. And I started using a Mac in 2013, and I don't know how long it was. It was a while until I realized one day I'm not a new user. I've pretty much got this down, and actually it helps me when I teach. And I didn't start teaching Mac till after I've been using it for 2 or 3 years. And you're teaching just the basic stuff, but I find that teaching always helped me because I'm going over the basics over and over, explaining it to people, and I learn a lot by teaching this stuff.
Definitely.
So,
that's
and as well as I do, Chanelle and Herbie too, you're doing the basics. You start at the beginning, and you work with new students, and everybody comes at it from a slightly different angle. And as an instructor, I started learning to look at things from a different angle, and I learned, just the basic. I start learning them even better and better by doing that, and then it helps me move along with other stuff. But I mean, just basic navigating the environment and things are the biggest obstacle. One, it's different than it is in Windows and with the different screen readers in Windows. But if you have screen reader concepts, if you understand those, you will. Granted, some of the mechanics are a little different on the Mac, but the concepts I don't find are that much different.
No, they're not. And before we delve too much into that, I want to get back to Karen. I think Karen wanted to say something.
Yeah, thanks, Chanelle. I was going to say something that who just spoke?
Valerie.
Brad just said.
Brad.
When I started, when I switched over from JAWS to the MacBook, I had somebody helping me, and he told me, he said, Karen, you really need, if you're going to learn the Mac, you got to learn the Mac. And what that means is it's really not a good idea to go back and forth between the Mac and JAWS, because you're just really just dabbling. You'll end up always going back to JAWS because you're more efficient, and therefore you won't learn Mac as well as you would if you just use Mac. Another thing I wanted to say is this introductory course that Chanelle and Herbie, your teaching is really excellent. So I highly recommend that you sign up for that. And just one more thing, if you go online to Mac for the Blind, that's a website, and they also have good teaching tools that you could take advantage of.
Excellent. Yeah, that's a great. I'm not sure, is their site still out anymore, or
No,
is
I
it
think I got
YouTube
sick of it.
videos?
Well, I'm not
But I
sure
think
about
it's
the
on.
site.
I think that one of our students posted a link to some YouTube videos that have been posted of all the Mac for the Blind YouTube. So stuff.
This
Yeah.
is
Oh,
Brad.
they
The
don't have
email
their
list is
website
still.
anymore?
Well, John Pannery's passed away,
Yeah, I knew he had
and I'm
passed
not
away.
sure what became because he had his website. He was teaching, and he had a business going, instructing and teaching and courses. And I think his brother took that over and perhaps took it down. But I know that Cliff Miller has taken over the Mac for the Blind email list, and Cliff is pretty knowledgeable. So
This is Julie.
Yes, Julie.
When you guys are ready, I just had a question for you.
Oh, a new topic. Yeah, I think we're ready to go on. Give those resources a try, Valerie, and keep coming back. Valerie and Claudette, we're always open for questions. And
So this is Herbie, real quick question. So the site was macfortheblind.com, right?
I don't know. I
I'm
don't.
not sure if it was .com or .org,
Yes,
but it
that's
was.
correct.
It was .com. Yeah.
Okay, so when I just went there right now and I see something that says, let's get your new site up and running.
Yeah,
so.
okay. Well, one of our
Yeah, it's
students posted to our
the
class
YouTube
email list a thing of probably videos that have been put on YouTube from Mac
Yeah,
for
but
the
that's
Blind.
YouTube videos. That's not the actual website.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. I get that, but I was saying it's become the YouTube.
I know, but you
the
weren't
YouTube
sure if the
videos
site,
are
so I was
available.
just verifying that was this, because I was verifying if the site itself was actually.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
It's down.
All right, let's go ahead and move on. Now I'm. Pardon me. Who wanted? Oh, Julie.
Judy.
Okay, go ahead, Julie.
Yeah. So my question was that, like, let's say you buy the new Mac computer, you get it home. Does it have like a version of Siri in it where you can tell it to turn VoiceOver on, or do you have to do that through the computer itself?
This is Brad.
Can I?
Nope.
Let somebody else answer.
Well, yeah, this is Sarah.
Okay, Sarah, go ahead.
So I remember when I got the Mac, it's like when you first turn it on, VoiceOver comes on.
Correct.
Yes, it does.
Because so that's what I remember was really great because like, oh, okay, when I first turn the computer on, VoiceOver's already on, so it guides me through the setup process. That's what I love about like the Mac and the iPhone, everything like that. When you first turn it on, you don't have to do anything.
yourself. You don't need sighted help. You can. Yep, it comes on automatically. You just keep the lid. Oh, go ahead, Brad.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, if it's a MacBook Air, MacBook Pro, just lift the lid. If it's a Mac Mini or something, just turn it on, and then don't touch the keyboard. And
This is Herbie.
after a little while, it will just start talking. VoiceOver just comes on. If you touch the keyboard, then it thinks you know what you're doing, and it won't just come on. Now, if you know the keyboard command, which is Command F5, you can always turn it on. But if you don't know, if you just like lift the lid on a MacBook and just wait, after about a minute, it'll start talking.
This is Herbie.
Indeed. Go ahead, Herbie.
So to actually answer the question, though, I mean, yes, that is correct what they were saying, and that's what the setup. But let's say if it's like an iPhone where you're encountering somebody else's and you want to turn on VoiceOver for them, like say a sighted person or whatever, or you want to use their computer, the Mac actually does have full access to Siri, assuming that the person has gone through the process of enabling it, of course, and I do believe you can use Siri to turn the Mac VoiceOver on and off, but if you're talking from a setup process, then what they were talking about, but that's also the case with the iPhone. I don't think you can use Siri to turn on VoiceOver with the iPhone it's set up either.
No. All right. Excellent. Nice, easy question.
I have a couple of questions, if you don't mind.
Yes. Who are you, please?
This is Soraya.
Soraya, go ahead.
Let's see, I have a few. So I know that from what I've heard, it doesn't use JAWS. Are MacBooks pretty efficient with VoiceOver? Is it as compatible?
As compatible as what?
compared
This
to
is
like
Sarah.
Jaws?
So,
Okay, go ahead, Sarah.
the VoiceOver is the built-in screen reader for the Mac product. So it's, you know, it's very well like integrated with the product.
Okay.
Tim?
Yeah, go ahead, Tim.
Well, I was going to say that yes, VoiceOver is compatible with most programs, although it may take a little bit of getting used to get familiar with using VoiceOver with third-party programs that are not from Apple, because of course the tutorials and the AppleVis guides primarily focus on the Apple software with VoiceOver. In terms of the actual usability, Siri does need to be enabled on the Mac, but in order to be able to use VoiceOver or turn VoiceOver on and off, I believe you can do that on the iPhone or iPad. I've done that, but I didn't actually go and specifically use Siri to set up VoiceOver for the first time.
So this is Herbie. We've moved on from the Siri thing, so this is just compare VoiceOver with JAWS.
Yeah, and did you have a comment on that particularly, or just to?
I will see if anybody else wants to comment first, because I can definitely comment, but
Right, and okay. So, are there any
I'm
other
being more admin right now than callers.
Yeah, well, I'm okay. Are there any more questions on this?
I have other questions if you
Okay,
need me
so
to move on.
we typically just do one question at a time, and then we'll come back to you after this question. We'll wait and see if other people have questions. We want to give everybody a chance, and then we'll come back.
Course.
So go ahead. I think that was Carlos.
This is Christopher.
Oh, Christopher. Oh, goodness. Sorry.
It's okay. What do you mean by compatible? Because I think it depends on what you're trying to do. As has already been said, I mean, yeah, pretty much all the built-in stuff from Apple will generally work, but depending on your specific task, it may or may not work depending on the accessibility of the program. And there's some things that VoiceOver still can't do that I think it should really be able to, but it's kind of a hard question because.
Okay.
For learning it, at least, it'll be a very good experience. And you can there are, as somebody pointed out, VoiceOver is built into the Mac. It is, JAWS you purchase separately. VoiceOver is kind of designed. Anybody can use VoiceOver on the Mac. It's always there. It doesn't have to be installed from some third party. So it's naturally, designed to work with the Mac. And so for most things that you do, VoiceOver will be efficient. There will be different ways of doing things, and you may find that you prefer some tasks, in Windows, but it's good, as we were talking about, to learn the Mac for the Mac's sake. And yeah, there's a whole bunch of side topics with this one question, but to give you the answer, yes, it's definitely compatible and very, very good quality. VoiceOver is a very good quality screen reader.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
This is George.
Go ahead, George.
Yes, I talked to you about getting in your next class. I'm going to ask the most elementary question that's ever been asked on this program, I'm sure. But I bought a Mac from a guy that needed some money, and I want to learn it. I'm fixing to start writing a book, and when I learn it, I'm tired of my Windows computer crashing all the time, and it does. I mean, and there's no rhyme or reason. I'll get something in there, and if it's not saved, it'll crash, and I'll have to reboot. And I really don't think it's a computer problem. I just think it's a fluke, and I don't know. But I'm tired of it, so I'm wanting to write a book on the Mac and start it in June. But my question is, if I'm going to take these classes or get on and look at your old classes or look at some of the AppleVis things, is it better to have the class on your phone, going on your phone, where you can operate the computer and try the things it's talking about, or do you bring the class up on the computer on the Mac and itself and use it that way? I mean, I know that's an elementary question,
No,
but
it's an
that's
important
involved.
question. So if you were to take the class, all the lessons are recorded, and so we do not recommend that students actually follow along while I am presenting. They are given the recordings to refer back to later on, and it is very useful to be able to access those on a different device. And, it's really the other resources that are out there. You can decide, how best to make use of them. It can definitely be helpful to listen to a podcast on one device and, try whatever you're doing on another device. It's totally up to you.
Okay, well, that makes sense.
That's
what I'm yes. Mm-hmm.
The next class, though, won't start until September.
Okay, well, I think you've already got me on the list, but I want on it anyway. I've got your email. We went back and forth on some emails recently, and so you've got me somewhere, I think, but I do want to get in the next class. So thank you very much. I'll be listening here, see what I can pick up on.
This is Pete.
All right. Yeah, go ahead, Pete.
I think George is already headed this way, but George, the recorded class segments and episodes are on the YouTube channel. iBug Today is the YouTube channel, or on the ibugtoday.org website, and go under podcasts and look for Mac training, Mac one-on-one training. You don't think they're on the website?
No, and it wouldn't be Mac one-on-one training, but it's not. And I think we have not uploaded the latest. So if you have an older computer, we typically, want students to have fairly new computers that are compatible with the latest Mac OS. But if you have a Mac, an older Mac, then the videos that are up on the site right now might be useful to you. So.
Well, this one is 2022. It's
okay.
I think it's the latest.
Okay. Very good. All right. Well, we'll look forward to hearing from you and getting you enrolled in the next class. Let's move on to questions, and thanks for the reminder, Pete. Who would like to ask our next question?
Joe here.
Yes, go ahead, Joe.
I assume you can have a number of email windows open at the same time so you can refer back and forth to them. Is that true?
So you want to have multiple email messages open at the same time, or
yes.
Okay?
Yes, I do.
This is Brad.
Go ahead, Brad.
Yeah, you can have more than one email message open. There you can either have them so that they're in separate windows or separate tabs. I prefer windows in email. Tabs have their place, but I like separate windows. So every time you open an email message, it opens in its own window, and you can switch between open windows, a number of ways, but the easiest is the keyboard command. You hold down the command key and you tap the key they call the Grav accent key. It's right above the tab key, and that will switch through open windows within the same application. So you can have 3 or 4 email messages open plus the main email window and switch through them with a keyboard command, being either in a forward direction, or if you hold the shift key down, you'll go backwards. But it's like, you've done that with other things too. The command key is the key on either side of the space bar.
No, my question
and the Grav accent key is above the tab key.
Was it the Grav key and the command, or the Grav?
You hold the command key down and then tap the Grav accent key while you hold the command key down.
I missed that.
And you can hit every time you hit the Grav accent, it's going to continue switching. You got maybe 3 or 4 things open. Every time you hit it, you're going to move to the next one. And if you hold the shift key down, you'll go in a backwards direction. And then when you're done, let go of the command key.
And this is Herbie.
Yes, Herbie.
I'll also mention that not only can you have multiple mail windows open, but they can be completely from different folders. Like right now I have a mail message open from my trash folder, but I now focused back again in the inbox. So, yeah, you can definitely do it. No problem.
Yep.
This is Brad.
Go ahead,
Another
Brad.
advantage I really like about the Mac Mail app is I have like 4 different email accounts. And yes, they each have their own inbox, but you also have an all inbox. So you can see all of your
Oh,
email
yes.
from all of your accounts. And that's something, well, you certainly don't find that in Microsoft Outlook. You can't do that there. They just do not allow for a common inbox. And that is one of the features that I really like about the Max Mail app. It's very nice.
Definitely. It is a huge advantage. Yeah. All right. Excellent. Who would like to ask the next question?
Robert's got a question.
Go ahead, Robert.
All right. In taking notes, and is there a way that you can get a representation of the command key and the option key and some of those so that you don't have to write out, you can write out VO, but then you have to type shift, right arrow or something like that, or down arrow. Are there ways of getting those symbolically in a text document so that when you do use your screen reader, it reads back rather than you having to spell it out?
All right. Who would like to answer that? I can think of some problems, but I'm curious to see what other has anybody else tried to write out or use symbols for the command? I think there are symbols for those keys, but
Well, I know there are symbols because if I listen to some of the documentation and, on Apple or on Apple this, where they're giving you summaries of commands, the screen reader will read, VO command something or whatever the combination is. And I've had, if I do my averted vision or if I have my sighted companion next to me, they can say, well, where they've got the little squiggly line, it's like a square for the I think the command button. It looks like it's almost a square, but each corner's got like a little loop to it.
This is Brad.
Go ahead,
And
Brad.
There are these symbolic references for the command key, the option key, control key, but I do not know of a keyboard way to represent them. It doesn't mean there isn't one. It just means I don't know it.
in
You
other
can
words,
hold the option key down and it produces lots of symbols. But the ones you're talking about, I see them in, because I have a little, well, I don't have as much as I used to. Once upon a time, I could see them in the pull down menus. It'll say the name of an action, and then off to the right hand side of the pull down menu is the keyboard command. VoiceOver reads it.
yeah.
And there's, like you said, a little symbol for the command key. There's a little symbol for the option and one for control.
Yeah,
But I do not know of a keyboard way to type that out.
I would just write your own abbreviations, or
Yeah.
one time I was writing those out so much I did something called the text
Yes.
replacements. And so, like, it's in the system settings under keyboard, and there's something, I think the word is text replacements. And so, you could maybe write the letter CMD, and that stands for command. And then when you type in CMD into a document, it'll translate that as command or expand that. So
Most
that's
people
one
just
option.
use.
Yeah,
I never write out the whole word. I just do that CMD.
Yeah,
Of course, I
yeah.
do write
Yeah.
out shift
Yeah, well,
and CTRL, but
yeah, that's what I'm doing now. But I was just wondering. I know those symbols are in ASCII code someplace because they've been printed out.
you
And
would
the
think
ASCII
so.
And the ASCII code
Yeah.
is either 200. I think it's 256 locations or
200,
maybe even
yeah,
512
0
now.
through 255.
Yeah, 0 through 255. And for the alphabet and punctuation and that we only use
But I
about.
doubt these Apple symbols are not going to be part of standard ASCII code. I just don't see that.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. All right. All right. I'll have to figure that. That's okay. All right, go on to another topic. I'm sorry.
No, that's a good question. Yeah.
This is Soraya again.
Soraya, go ahead.
Yeah, currently I'm using Windows, but I'm kind of interested in the Mac. I've been trying to look into programs where you can write on the computer using your voice, or like you can tell your computer to go to like Chrome or do stuff like that, like control your computer with your voice. Is that something you could do on Windows using a certain program, or is that better for like Mac, if that makes sense?
So you're wanting to know, okay, you have a program on Windows that you can use for dictating text or controlling, maybe the correct word is controlling the computer with text, and you want to know if you can do that on the Mac or controlling the computer with your voice.
I don't have a program on Windows yet. I'm trying to figure out because I go to college and I'm planning to go back to college again,
Right.
but I'm trying to find something where I can either a program on Windows or a program on the Mac if I have to get a Mac, but something where I can write with my voice or even like move around to different things by like speaking to it.
All right, so we only talk about the Mac here. I mean, in terms of like,
I mean, does the Mac do that?
yeah,
I mean,
so all right, who would like
Robert?
to go ahead, Robert?
Well, I do know in accessibilities there is down below VoiceOver and that in others there is voice control of the Mac that's allowed for people who can't use a keyboard. So there is settings in the accessibility that do allow you to use your voice to control the Mac. And I believe dictation is something that you can do in most of the native apps on the Mac, from word processing to notes to email and things like that. I do know that that's possible on the Mac.
Yeah, and voice definitely, and voice control. It's not, it's not something I really use as a voiceover user because you would have to say things to it like voiceover move right, voiceover move left to move your voiceover cursor. If you're not so there is limited support for voice control and voiceover, but I don't know enough about it myself to
This is
really.
Elena.
Elena, go ahead.
So I used voice control a little bit with VoiceOver. I definitely recommend that you have a headset if you're planning on using it with Dictate because it will pick up the VoiceOver voice. You can use it to open apps. I think the wording for it was just like open pages. And I think the wake up word was something like wake up and go to sleep was how you made it stop.
Right. Okay.
It was a little silly. Yeah, it was kind of not really intuitive, and it took me a while to figure it out. But the dictation was actually really good, and it was able to pick up what I was saying with really, really good accuracy.
That's
This is
great.
Brad.
Go ahead, Brad.
Voice control is really designed for people who have limited use of their hands and things, and you will find that it's extremely laborious. You would be much better off with keyboard commands for some of your basic tasks. Now, if you want to ask your Mac to open a file or open a application, Siri can do that. Siri's very good with on-device stuff. It's when you start asking it more off-device things that Siri starts to have an issue. But, open pages, open, text edit. It can certainly do that stuff, and it does it very well. It does that on the iPhone.
Actually,
and like has already.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, it has been already said here, the dictation on the Mac is very good, but yes, a headset is definitely recommended.
Even on the Mac, and I'm getting us off into a side issue, I suppose. I will try not to, but you have to say open. It doesn't always open the application. Sometimes you have to say open the text edit app or open. It's
Yeah.
not, or
Hmm.
maybe I'm just not a Siri user, and I just don't get along
I
with her.
hate Siri. I just never use it on the Mac. I use it on the iPhone some. And you can
Right.
always spotlight,
You
command
can.
space bar,
Yep.
type the name of the app, hit enter, and it'll open it.
And
you,
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Can you dictate without the voice control you were talking about as well?
Yes.
Okay.
It doesn't have anything to do with voice control. Dictation is dictation. Voice control is voice control. Yes, you talk to voice control, but voice control, like I said, is really designed for people who have whatever it's called, dexterity or
I've
limited
just had
use of
some
your
carpal tunnel
hands.
issues, so that's
Yeah,
why
I
I was.
understand. But Siri will probably do what you want. It can help you open things and do stuff like that. And then dictation can dictate what, in lieu of you actually typing. But then be careful. Sometimes I find it's more laborious to go through and edit my text and make sure it really typed what I asked it to type because you know, you never can be sure. You have to go check it, make sure it typed what you said.
And to get back to your question, I have no idea how voice control compares to other programs. You would really have to try out Windows or go to a Windows group to ask about specific programs for that operating system. But I have no idea how voice control compares. So.
I do know that the dictation works very well. And if you're using a headset with a microphone in a quiet environment and you learn some of the ins and outs of the dictation so that you can control punctuation and indentation and things like that, it works very well and is used quite a bit in the special education programs in schools that I have worked with a high degree of success. And when you consider even having to do moderate editing afterwards, it's the only way that some students can get their thoughts down in text format. So it works very well, and the technology is very good. I will not be surprised if very shortly there will be an AI agent that will be able to take dictated text and clean it up for punctuation and misspellings very easily.
All right. It's a positive outlook, and I'm glad that it's getting better and better. All right.
Can I say something quick about the
Sure.
Windows?
Sure.
So I know that Microsoft 365 has some dictating that you can do. I believe the key command for it is Alt-Grav. But you have to have the Microsoft 365. You have to have the subscription. You can't have like a perpetual license for it. I have seen people use Dragon for dictation, but I believe if you're using JAWS, you need JSay. So you need an additional program.
That's a whole other realm.
Yeah, so it gets kind of really complicated with that too.
Yeah, I had experience when I was teaching in the late 90s with Dragon Naturally Speaking, and that was an early program. And the dictation that's now on your phone and your iPad and your Mac are orders of magnitude better.
That's good.
So Dragon and JAWS are not friends. You need an additional program if you were going to use those.
All right. So I think we will move on
This is
to
Valerie. Oh, sorry.
Yes, go ahead, Valerie.
I'm just trying to clarify. So the Mac, the dictation that you're referring to that is available on the Mac, is that its own app native to the Mac, or are you talking
It's
about
a feature.
getting
It's
into
not...
It's built in.
So that's the text field when you select like a I'm using the language for navigating VoiceOver on the phone because I don't know the keystrokes on the Mac, but that's that dictation feature. You get into the edit field. That's what you mean. 5.
Yeah, on VoiceOver with the iPhone, you two-finger double tap or hit the
Yes.
dictate button. On the Mac,
Right.
you can assign a key for dictation, yes.
Oh, okay. And so
Yep.
you can always do that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is Jerry from Vermont.
All right, Jerry, is this a new topic?
Yes.
Okay, good. We're ready for you.
I had that feeling, Jill.
Sorry.
I am curious as to what happened tonight. I was trying to get into this meeting on my Mac. I'm now on my iPad. But I was trying to get into the meeting. I could get into the physical meeting, but I got no audio in spite of the fact that I even switched microphones.
Huh.
I don't know. I have a Mac Mini. So I'm not sure why that's happening.
Yeah, so you were definitely muted. I did say hi to you. You didn't, I mean, it wasn't immediately, but I did eventually say hi, and then some of us were talking. So you didn't hear any of that at all?
Nope, not a word. And I don't have any headphones plugged in or anything like that.
That might be part of the problem. Okay, go ahead, Brad.
When using Zoom client on your Mac or any desktop, if you've made any changes, I'm not sure what's happened on your computer recently. I recommend always open the Zoom client first. And if you're having any issue like what you're having, before I would even join a meeting, open the Zoom client, open settings with Command comma, go to audio, and you get to that very quickly by typing AU. Thank you, Chanelle, for pointing that out to me once upon a time. And then move through your audio settings. Make sure your output device, which means what you hear, is set to, I always do same as system. That means if I'm on my MacBook Pro, it's going to come out of the MacBook Pro speakers. But if I'm using AirPods, they're going to become the default, and I'll hear out of those. And then make sure your input device, which is your microphone, is set to what you intend to use as for a microphone. So if you have a headset, make sure your headset is set to be the output device and the input device. If you're
He was not using a headset or anything on the Mac
but I'm
Mini,
just saying,
and so was that his problem?
I'm listening to both of you.
You still want to go into Zoom and set your input and output device on Zoom so that it's what you're. Now, once you do this repeatedly, Zoom is going to be looking for it. But again, if you have a device and it's something you plug in and it's not there, Zoom's going to go looking for something.
Right, but if he's using a Mac Mini, he must have a device plugged in,
but
correct?
Still,
is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, then he did not
I use
have
the example. I use the example of a MacBook Pro.
This is Herbie.
It has a built-in.
Go ahead, Herbie.
But if you open your Zoom settings and you have something plugged in that you intend to use to listen to and to talk to, you want to make sure those are set as your input and your output. And once you got them set, then join a meeting and you'll be fine.
I got it. Good. Thank you.
So, first of all, going back, the Mac Mini does have built-in speakers. It does not have a built-in microphone.
Correct.
So he would still be able to hear Zoom through his Mac Mini speakers, if nothing else. Now, Zoom does also have its own built-in audio device that could play havoc, but so I would still definitely double-check the input and output of the Zoom settings for sure to see where they are routed to. But yes, the Mac Mini does have a set of speakers, and you actually can hear Zoom through them. It's not the greatest.
Not real good, but you can
but
hear
it does work.
But I was trying to ascertain if part of the problem was that since he does not have a headset or any sort of thing plugged in to the Mac Mini, then okay, so
then you got no microphone. That's for sure.
Yeah, that would not be a factor. No, it would still, even if there's no microphone device, Zoom should still by default come through the speaker. So I would definitely check the settings.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks a million, guys.
All right. Who would like to ask the next question?
Soraya, I have another question if it's okay.
All right, hold on. Let's maybe give some other people a chance.
Sure.
This is Dan with a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
Okay, how do I expand a conversation in Mail on the Mac?
Ah, excellent. Okay.
This is Herbie.
Go ahead, Herbie.
Right arrow on the conversation. Don't actually open the conversation. Just point to it, and where it says collab, do right arrow. It's going to expand the thread, and then you can go down and look at each individual message. There are other ways of doing it, yes, but I find this myself to be the easiest. And then you can just, if you want to do anything with that particular message, you can just hit enter to open it. You can delete it out of the thread. And then, unfortunately, it'll just take you past the thread to the remainder of the messages in your inbox, which I do find that annoying. But what you can do is go back up to the thread and hit left arrow to collapse it, and when you want, and there you go.
Okay, well,
Brad.
when you're in the Brad, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I believe if you're in the middle of a thread and you hit left arrow like to collapse, it's going to move you to the top level.
Yes.
And then you hit left arrow again. And that's a nice quick way to get there. So
you shouldn't have to hit left arrow again.
Yes,
but
you do.
You do? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
but okay, when you find your conversation in the table and you hit right arrow, where do all the messages appear? I mean, don't you
Just
have to
below the one that you were on, below what I call the top level, the title of the conversation, for lack of a better term. You right arrow, and then the conversation all opens, and you'll see all the messages in the conversation down below the
Starts
top.
with the most. It depends on the order.
Yeah, they're usually the most recent one is on top, and the older one's down below. I think there's a setting for that, but I think it's that way by default. Right arrow, it's just like any submenu. Right arrow to expand, left arrow to collapse.
Okay, I understand that, but I'm trying to figure out where do the messages appear. But you say they
Right
just
below the one that when you're the one you're on, when you hit right arrow, they're going to be below it.
Okay. All right, thank you. That sounds pretty straightforward.
Yep. And you just press enter to actually view the text of that message, and then Command W to close it when you're done.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep. Great. All right. Who would like to ask the next question?
Nobody else had a question. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Was anyone else speaking? No?
Go ahead. The other person, go ahead.
Oh, I don't think you've asked one yet, Tim. Go ahead.
The question I had was something I emailed to you and Herbie about separately earlier this afternoon, was specifically about collaboration options, because again, for the VoiceOver training class, I've been the quote-unquote facilitator for the study group, and for the study group, we usually do try to fill out the sheet with the answers for each of the focus questions that you give us.
Right.
And what we've been doing, which is not working very well, is that we go and have one particular person write down all the notes for the answers to all the questions. And this is rather unfair because it's leaving all the real work of writing and recording all the notes to one particular person who may not be able to think and be involved with the rest of the discussion. So what we want, and of course, if we, don't have people doing it, sharing the job, then they probably are not learning it quite as well. So what I wanted to do is set up some sort of a way by which we could do almost like a wiki type of thing, where different members of the study group could go and fill out the answers to the questions themselves in an online notes system, so that we don't have one person doing all the work each time.
Okay. Now, yeah, and this is just to clarify. So Herbie leads the main study group, but there's a student-led study group for this class where all of you meet to go over anything together outside of our study group time. And I'm wondering if, rather than talk about, I guess let's just make the question relative to Mac and Talk, and then we can discuss the specific class issue further outside of this, but you want to know if there are any good accessible collaboration options for the Mac for people working together on the same project.
Yes. As I'd mentioned in my email earlier this afternoon, there was a program like 10, 20 years ago called Subetha Edit, which did this function as a regular word processor that you could use in a local network situation, like in a classroom, between people to be able to edit and make annotations on the same document. What I was thinking is using something like Google Doc, try and do this with the word processing feature that Google offers online. But I do know that there are some idiosyncrasies with using the Google Docs with other screen readers like JAWS. And I just wanted to know if you had any suggestions in terms of what I should be on the lookout for, or if this is even a bad idea.
Joe here, what if we just did a recording of it?
All right, so let's, I don't want to, let's just address specifically.
This is Herbie.
Go ahead, Herbie.
So I'm kind of doing two things here. So Tim, did you say that you did see my email to you earlier, correct?
Yes, and that's why I'm asking it here, because I really
right.
This would be something to,
so
how should they say, inside baseball to really be relevant for the Macintosh program.
So the two suggestions real quickly, guys, so you all know, if anybody wants to expound upon these or have any others. The two suggestions I gave him is there is that new collaboration feature within Pages. I kind of played with it once. It was interesting. It was with somebody who was on an iPad and I was on the Mac. And I actually don't remember now if I played with it on the Mac or the iPhone, come to think of it. The other suggestion I said was Google Docs, which seems to work a little bit better in Chrome. So those are the two suggestions I gave him. But I said, come here and see if Brad has any better ideas. Anyway.
Well, I've used Google Docs for the same thing.
Oh, Brad, you're way far away. We can't hear you.
What? Oh, sorry. How's this?
That's a lot better.
I messed with a knob on my thing.
Okay.
I just thought I'd put it back where it was. Anyway, I've used Google Docs for this. And nice thing about it, obviously you're in the Mac class, everybody's using the Mac. But I've been in meetings where people are on Windows, people are on Mac, people are on Chrome, Chromebook. I mean, everybody can access a Google Doc because it's web-based. And I've been seeing people, 2 or 3 people, and they're all in different parts of the document, taking notes. So we were planning training actually, and we've got a couple of different training classes going on. Somebody's in one section, somebody's in another, and we're all able to discuss what we're talking about. And one person is editing, one part of the document, and somebody else is editing another, and it all happens. I mean, as soon as somebody types something, I've got it on my computer, within a fraction of a second of when they typed it. Google Docs takes a little bit of getting used to. It is very accessible. It's just getting used to that. You have to enable the accessibility, and the keyboard commands on Mac are a little different from Windows, which is why when I've gone to some of these training things, oh yeah, we're going to cover Mac and Windows. Well, they don't know the Mac, and so you just have to take everything with a grain of salt. But it is a very good collaboration tool, and it is accessible, so it works very well. I know people. Herbie mentioned Pages. Microsoft Word has something, but everybody has to be using Word. Office 365, Microsoft 365, whatever they're calling it these days. And your documents all have to be saved to OneDrive in order to facilitate the collect. It's a lot of trouble. You can't beat Google Docs, as much as I hate to say it. It's really good.
All right. Go ahead. Thanks, Brad. Go ahead, Pete.
Doesn't the Notes app now have a collaboration feature?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
I don't use Notes. Who is this, please?
This is Sarah.
Okay, go ahead, Sarah.
So when you share a note, there's a way, it basically, when you share a note, you hit the share button. It says anyone you share this with will be able to edit the note. I haven't really tried it much either, but I know that's a possibility.
Yeah, we don't
Never
really.
used it in real time, though. That's the thing. So it may work. It may do that, just what we're talking about. That would be great.
Yeah, we don't really go over the Notes app in class, but we could certainly. Everybody, is encouraged to look at. It's not too hard. It's a little bit more cluttered, than the text edit interface, which is why I stick to teaching text edit. But it's useful if the collaboration would work. So those are great ideas. All right.
This is Pete. I think Dropbox also has a comments feature. I don't know if that's a full collaboration, a full-blown one like Brad was talking about with Google Docs.
I don't know. Okay, well, thanks for all these excellent ideas. And let's go ahead and get to another question. All right, Sarah, I think or Soraya, I'm sorry, Soraya, you had another question?
Yes. If I were to get a Mac, would you have to trade them in kind of like you do iPhones if there's like an upgrade or things like that, or can you keep the same one?
All right. Who wants to answer that question?
This is Tim.
Go ahead, Tim.
Apple does have a trade-in program, and there are other retailers that sell Macintoshes that will offer similar type of programs where they will give you a credit on if you trade in your old Mac for a new one. But generally, the prices they give you is probably not very lucrative. You'd probably be better off going and selling your Mac on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist or whatever, and then buying a new Mac outright.
And yeah, another thing too, the iPhone, there are certain Apple offers like a loan program to where you pay off the phone over, 24 months or whatever. There isn't anything like that directly for the Mac, if that's what you were asking about.
Yes, there is. You can buy stuff from Apple on time.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you'd have to put it on a credit card.
Well, you have to put the iPhone thing on a credit card.
Right, it's a loan though. It used to
Yeah,
be
but it's
just
still
like
a credit card. There's a credit card involved.
This is Kelly.
Yes, go ahead, Kelly.
Soraya, just to clarify, are you talking about like how long you can use your Mac until you have to get a new one? Is that kind of where you're going with this?
Yes.
Okay. So, I'm sorry, I just wanted to clarify that. So
Yeah,
basically, yeah, so you can use your Mac for several years. I mean, before it'll tell you that you can't update it anymore. But even after you can't update it, you could still use it. It's just it won't have any more updates. But I don't know what the time frame is exactly, but I'd say what, 7 years
10,
or
12 years.
Yeah,
10 years?
Long time.
A long
Yeah,
time.
They last
Yeah.
forever.
This is Tim, and I can tell you that Apple's official policy is that the status for Macs is that they will provide support and service on what are called quote unquote vintage Macs for 5 years after they stop production. So, in other words, a Mac that if they for example, if they stop producing, say the M2 MacBook or the M3 MacBook, the M3 MacBook, they stopped production this year because they have the M4 versions. So 5 years after they stopped production of that one, the M3 this year, will be when they will stop supporting it. So you won't be able to get repairs or support from Apple. You may or may not get phone support for software type problems, but you won't be able to get things fixed from Apple. And then, of course, after that 5 year time frame, then they have obsolete. And for obsolete products, Apple does not give any support or any repairs whatsoever. So generally, you can consider that you probably have 5 to 7 years after buying a Mac. That's even worst case scenario if you buy it just the day before the new version comes out and they stop selling the one that you just bought. You still have 5, maybe 6 years of support left on that Mac.
This is Brad.
Go ahead, Brad.
I have a 2012 MacBook Pro sitting here. It used to be my father's. I got it when he passed away. I have it updated to Catalina. The thing works fine, just like it did the day it came home from Apple. You can do everything. You can do internet. You can do iCloud. You can do everything you can think of. It won't do Apple Intelligence, but Apple Intelligence isn't very intelligent, and I wouldn't worry about that. But no, it's just fine, and it's, what is that now, 13 years old.
Right.
They last a long time. I wouldn't even worry about it.
Yeah,
All that obsolete and not supported stuff, I mean, chances are it's going to be just fine. I'm not saying things don't break, but I wouldn't worry about it. They last a long time. That's one of the reasons they cost so much. They're built better than your average Windows PC. They're just built
I have
better.
a 2013 MacBook Pro that's still working.
Exactly.
It doesn't the latest software, but and they haven't been producing the Intel chips for 6 years now.
Mm-hmm.
So
this thing's only got 4 gig of RAM, but it works just fine.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
go ahead, Soraya.
So, but if something happened, I wouldn't be able to get support. Is that what you were saying for it?
That is
Like,
true.
If
They're not going to fix it because it's too old. The parts aren't available.
Well, it depends.
But
yeah.
I mean, you know, if it goes bad, I mean.
Oh, that's if it goes bad. I mean, like if I get a new Mac and gosh forbid something happened to it, I want to make sure it would be,
They're covered.
Yeah.
They covered. They have 1 year warranty, and you can buy Apple Care that'll extend that out to 3 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
But basically, especially the new ones, they have no moving parts. They use SSDs, and there's no moving parts inside the thing.
Yeah.
They last forever. I mean, do you already have a Mac?
No,
Are you worried
I do
about?
not. I don't. I was considering getting one, but I don't even know what kind I should.
Buy
what
either a
would be
MacBook
good.
Air or a Mac Mini, and you're good for 10 years.
Okay.
This is Jerry from Vermont.
Yes, go ahead, Jerry.
You mentioned that you were going back to school. Is it Soraya?
Soraya.
Soraya. I would wonder whether or not you're the kind of student that can visually see the blackboard or not. Do you intend to take notes in class? And if so, what would you take notes with? Are you a Braille user? These are all things that, would go into, if I were going back to college and having to choose a computer, which I'm old enough, there weren't computers when I was in college. But anyway, if I were choosing one, I would wonder, how portable do you want it? Are you going to be mostly operating from your room or your home if you're a commuting college student? And then how much portability do you want with it?
This is Herbie.
Okay, so yeah, go ahead. The question was directed at Soraya, so go ahead, Soraya.
So, I am a Braille user. I do plan to do college at home. Goodness, I'm trying to think. There was a lot of questions.
Those are just all things you don't have to answer now.
No, they're just considerations.
They're to consider.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Go ahead, Herbie.
I just want to say real quick, and this is, these are just things that take into consideration, but from my recent experiences, note-taking and computer use are two very different things. Like, I think, honestly, if I was doing a lot more of my note-taking, because I was able to get help with the notes, I would probably want an actual note-taker for that purpose. But for doing papers and stuff, I'd rather have a computer.
Right.
Also, if you're doing stuff from home, you're going to need to be able to access Zoom and stuff or whatever. So, in my opinion, at least, note taking, the needs for note taking versus the needs for the actual assignments can be two very different things. So
I do have a note taker and I use that for my notes, but I was going to think about the computer for like the big stuff.
yeah.
It's good to use the
Brad,
best of both worlds. Go ahead, Brad.
the MacBook Air is Apple's biggest selling product, biggest selling Mac. I mean, it is light, it is thin, it is easy to put in your backpack. I know, depending on what you want to use, it is, with the M series chip, any of them, they're very adequate for pretty much anything the average user is going to do.
Now,
And with the portability
going to school
of it.
from home, though.
And I
Doesn't
just
matter.
have a
You
thought.
still have it, and you can carry it around. I mean,
It's
I would get one of those as opposed. Mac Mini's nice.
Yeah.
So,
but it's difficult if you want to pick it up and go somewhere with it. You got a lot of wires and plugs and things to deal with. There's a reason why the MacBook Air is their biggest selling computer.
all right, and excuse me. Sorry, go ahead, Soraya, and then I do have a thought.
Oh, this is Kelly. I'm sorry.
Sorry, go ahead, Kelly.
Soraya, another thing to take into consideration is what platform that you guys are using in your school, whether it's Canvas, whether it's Brightspace, Blackboard, one of those. I work at a community college, and so we get that a lot. So you want to think about that too.
But those are
That's
web-based.
And another thing is Braille. Now, some people here may not, be a heavy. I know for me personally, I would much rather do, if I'm going to connect a Braille display to my Mac, which, I'm sure your note taker is able to be supported as a Braille display. It definitely works with the Mac. I find I really enjoy the experience of Braille much more on Windows. It's much easier for editing. There are more possibilities for key commands depending on your note taker. Yes, you can assign commands on the Mac, and that's a whole separate thing. But, you may, it's ultimately up to you. You can definitely do it with a Mac. There's nobody saying that you can't. But I
Windows
certainly
with JAWS could be better.
I was certainly glad to use Windows with JAWS when I was going to school.
That is very good consideration.
Yeah, I plan to use them separately, the Braille note taker from the computer.
Okay, you don't want to use it as a display at all for what's on your computer. Okay, then with that, then you could go with anything. Okay.
Okay. What is there a year range? Like, what would be the better of the ones, if that makes sense for the.
What was the question?
Like the years on the MacBooks, like would it be better
This is
to
Herbie.
get?
Go ahead,
This is
Herbie.
Brad.
Herbie.
They're all pretty much up to date for now. Like your MacBook Airs, they've been coming out with new ones every year. So whatever year you go to school, they're gonna. Now that being said, you could find like the MacBook M4 is going to be a little bit more expensive than an older MacBook M3 or M2, which, as far as I'm aware, there really isn't much of a difference. So, you could get away with buying, a year's previous one, for instance, if you wanted. But
you'll save some money.
Yeah, probably the only two Macs that may not have the current year, which you won't have to worry about unless you're doing video editing, is the Mac Pro, and then there is the iMac, but that's a little bit bigger than what you might be wanting. So, especially the Mac Pro, and not to be confused with the MacBook Pro, but that's a whole other thing. But
Mac Pro.
Yeah, Mac Pro.
Those are $10,000.
Yeah, you won't be worrying about those.
Yeah, like I said, unless you're planning to go into video editing, you don't really need to worry about one of those.
You can do video editing on an M series Mac.
Yeah, you can.
They'll do it.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
But any recent
intense video editing, like if you're going into movie production, then you probably want to worry about a Mac Pro for much more But for the rest of us, yeah.
But
Chances are,
it does have enough storage for like all my college.
Oh, yeah.
that's an option. So whenever you buy one, buy as much storage and as much RAM as you can afford because they are not upgradable. I would not get less than 16 gigabyte RAM, and I would not ever get less than 512 gigabyte SSD. And if you can go up to a 1 terabyte SSD, even better, and the rest you can put in iCloud.
And this is Herbie.
Okay, John. We have not heard from John. Go ahead, John.
I just want a clarification question because I thought I heard from one of the Apple events that with the newer Macs, moving forward, they were going to have a base storage of 16 gigabytes RAM. Am I mistaken?
No, that's true. And actually, they went through and upgraded. This was before the M4 came out. And they went through and redid it. So if you buy any Mac from Apple right now, it's not going to have less than 16 gigabytes of RAM. But that doesn't mean that you're not going to find something from a third-party retailer. Amazon sells a lot of older stuff at a reduced price, but I wouldn't buy anything with less than 16.
All right. Well, we have ran out. We are at the end of our time. Thanks, everyone, for coming. Thanks for answering questions and asking them. And we will see you back here. I believe the next date for Mac and Talk is May 27th.
Thank you so much.
Cool.
I hope that's right. I don't remember, but you'll
it
see
is.
the announcement.
I think it
you'll
is.
see the announcement. So
That's
thank
my
you
birthday.
very much.
You can bring me a new Mac.
With 16 gig of RAM.
Keep wishing.
I want
All right.
32.
Thank you. Have a good night.
If I'm
Have a good night.
Goodbye.
Chanelle, good job.
Thank you.
Oh.
Thank you.
Hold on. There we go. Now we're